Good evening. I'm Andrew Chang.
And I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Tonight, questions about the security of vaccine supply as countries clamp down.
Can the Prime Minister absolutely guarantee that 0 doses will be held back from the EU to our country?
As parts of the world crest the third wave, governments move to block some vaccine exports. What does that mean for Canada's doses?
Plus, science in real time. Why some doctors are excited about mixing vaccines.
Also tonight, shipping at a standstill.
1 in a million, chance a ship gets stuck sideways.
A massive ship wedged and blocking the Suez Canal.
And on his 85th birthday,
do not forget we are animals. You're an animal. And that's not an insult, it's a biological statement.
David Suzuki keeps it all in perspective. This is The National.
Right in the middle of a race between the vaccine rollout and rising COVID cases in Canada, there are new concerns tonight about vaccine deliveries.
Yeah, 2 parts of the world are moving to restrict exports of the very vaccines that Canada counts on. India is reportedly freezing major exports of the AstraZeneca vaccine, and the European Union is looking to further control who gets the vaccines made in its countries. At the core of both cases, worry that sending vaccines elsewhere will leave their own residents unprotected. But what about Canada? Here's David Cochran on what the latest dose of vaccine nationalism means for this country.
Just as Canada's vaccine shipments are ramping up, new concerns they could be stopped entirely.
Can the Prime Minister absolutely guarantee that 0 doses of vaccines will be held back from the EU to our country over the next 2 months?
We are concerned with the new reports of restrictions out of the EU.
Concerned even though Europe's quarrel is not with Canada, it's largely with the United Kingdom, which is outpacing the continent in vaccinations due to a stable domestic supply of AstraZeneca, backstopped by Pfizer imports from Belgium.
All I can say is that we in this country don't believe in blockades of any kind of vaccines or vaccine material.
But a blockade is what Britain may get. As a third wave washes over Europe, AstraZeneca deliveries to EU countries keep coming up short. And for the last 2 months, the UK hasn't shared its supply.
Some 10 million doses had been exported from from EU to UK, and 0 doses had been exported from UK to EU.
There's anxiety here because almost all of Canada's vaccines come from Europe. There's hope because Pfizer and Moderna are meeting their European deliveries, and Canada has been assured there's little risk.
This is something that we are working extremely hard on, and we will ensure that Canadians continue to receive the vaccines that we need.
But there's also growing concern about the 1.5 million doses of AstraZeneca due to come from India, where daily cases are pushing 50,000, and the government is reportedly halting exports to meet demand.
We're going to keep working to make sure that vaccines come to Canada. There's no reason to believe that those vaccines from India will be delayed.
Okay, so David, how worried is the government about this?
Yeah, the problem with India is a total lack of clarity. I spoke with the Indian High Commission here in Ottawa, and they couldn't tell me how this affects Canada because they don't know. But, India is a one-off. It's only 1.5 million doses total. Europe is at least 1 million doses each and every week. So India would be a setback. Europe would be a crisis. Now, luckily, Pfizer and Moderna are hitting their targets. Europe and Canada are capital A allies. And my sense there is far more comfort with Europe than with the Indian situation, and that's key because EU shipments are the backbone of Canada's vaccination efforts.
Okay, David Cochran, good context. Thanks.
Thank you.
So assuming this all goes as planned, in the next 2 weeks, Canada is supposed to get as much vaccine as it received over the entire rollout so far. After more than 3 months of shipments, the provinces have received a total of about 4.7 million doses. But by the end of this week, 1.2 million doses of Pfizer arrive. On top of that, 800,000 Moderna doses. By the end of the month, 1.5 million more AstraZeneca from the US and another 1.2 million Pfizer doses next week. The sheer scale of what this country is about to receive is both encouraging and maybe even a little daunting. Because after all, at some point, the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine is also going to enter the mix. Getting all these doses into arms will be a challenge. Susana da Silva shows us the anatomy of a vaccination ramp-up where the scarcest resource isn't space, it's people.
And just relax your arm, just hang your arm there.
This may be the most important job at a mass vaccination clinic, but hardly the only one. Everything from greeters and screeners to people who register and guide recipients. And now, as BC opens up more mass clinics, the province is hiring more help.
Some 1,400 laid off tourism and hospitality workers will now be doing non-clinical staff work within our immunization centres.
Laid off staff from the cruise ship industry and Air Canada and WestJet are among those being called in.
It's good. I mean, it's a win-win situation to keep.
After 21 years with Air Canada, Jack Louis was recently laid off and worried about what he would do next. Now he knows he'll be working at a clinic next week.
That's exciting because that's like, you know, other than idling around, we have we can be put to use and help out the local communities.
And time is of the essence to get employees like Louis in place, as vaccine shipments to Canada are expected to ramp up dramatically. Experts will be watching to see if the gap between doses received by BC and those given out widens.
There is a gap in BC, and it is hard to explain if that gap is because of inefficiencies in vaccination, or it is simply because, you know, the current phase is only targeting certain people and the booking systems are not up.
This doctor believes BC needs to do even more to scale up.
One thing that we might think of doing a bit better here in British Columbia is using clinics, using pharmacies, using community-based centers that are more accessible more easily to more people.
And Louis hopes the faster vaccines are given out, the sooner people may be back on planes.
Once they reopen it, I can go back to work, all my colleagues can go back.
Part of the slow return to normal. Susana da Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now, while some airline workers have new jobs in those clinics, there's also good news for some of their colleagues. WestJet is restoring service to 6 airports in eastern Canada after it suspended routes last fall due to the pandemic. Starting June 24th, flights in and out of Charlottetown, Fredericton, Moncton, Sydney, and Quebec City will begin on a reduced schedule. Service between St. John's and Toronto will also resume. The airline says it will also bring back some of its laid-off staff, of course, to operate those routes. Now, as concerns about vaccine supply continue to make news, scientists are looking into an intriguing question. What happens if you mix and match doses of different COVID-19 vaccines? Christine Birak looks at a new trial underway and why some are hopeful the results could even help in the fight against variants.
Health officials don't recommend mixing COVID-19 vaccines, but it's happening.
I had a shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine here in Quebec.
Joseph Rosina's second shot will be in the U.S. It'll likely be Pfizer.
I didn't know anything about what that could bring, if it was risky or problematic.
I wouldn't say that people should be exceptionally worried about safety. We don't know exactly how well a different one will boost the other, but I suspect it would be pretty well.
If mixing vaccines works, some suggest it could provide flexibility in vaccine supply and may trigger unique immune responses that better protect against variants.
But just like your immune system is one of the most complex networks in your entire body, we don't always know exactly how it's going to respond.
To find out, a trial is underway in the UK. None of the 800 volunteers knows which vaccine they're getting.
I'll leave it in the capable hands of the doctors.
Some are given a Pfizer prime shot followed by an AstraZeneca booster, or AstraZeneca followed by Pfizer. Others get the same vaccine twice for comparison. Scientists are eager to see if any combination works.
With that knowledge, then we can have complete confidence that a number of different vaccines can be rolled out very quickly, very efficiently.
Scientists are also hoping 2 different vaccines might offer our immune system a closer look at those spikes on the outside of the coronavirus. While the first dose offers a preview of the invader, the second dose could focus it on those spikes even when morphed by variants.
Potentially, with a prime boost of different vaccines, the broader immune response that ensues will be sufficient to deal with, for example, the South African variant.
But we're not there yet. While 2 doses are better than 1, Frizina knows mixing vaccines is still a gamble. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
COVID cases continue to rise in Canada. Right now, Saskatchewan has the highest rate of hospitalized patients in the country. As we've seen throughout the pandemic, COVID draws attention away from other critical health issues. As Bonnie Allen explains, testing for HIV has dropped, a major concern in the province, with a case rate 3 times the national average.
Danita Wapusian calls North Central Regina home. It's where she injected drugs for years and where she contracted HIV. Unlike other parts of Canada, injection drug use is the primary source of HIV transmission in Saskatchewan.
I did drugs with my daughter, my sister, my brother, my nieces, nephews, and that's the way it is in this community.
This frontline agency handed out 1.4 million clean needles to drug users last year, but when the pandemic hit, it had to halt all testing at this location.
To tell them, go here, go there for testing, that doesn't work because they feel they're just not comfortable. So they're slipping through the cracks.
Across the province, public health nurses have been diverted to COVID-19 testing, contact tracing, and vaccinations. In 2019, the provincial lab processed nearly 94,000 HIV tests. But during the pandemic, testing plummeted by 30%.
The fact that we have a relatively similar number of cases and actually slightly higher cases here in Regina, and the fact that there's been such a significant decrease in testing means that there's lots of people who are undiagnosed, who aren't accessing testing and services.
Dr. Alex Wong says HIV infections are the result of other chronic problems, including homelessness, mental illness, and addiction.
It's going to be something that we're going to play catch up with probably for years, unfortunately.
The head of the Canadian Aboriginal AIDS Network says it disproportionately affects Indigenous people.
This land called Canada, it's developed. We're supposed to not have these diseases, and we're supposed to not have people die of AIDS, but yet we do.
If you know your status, you can take care of yourself better, right?
Public health experts who work for the Saskatchewan Health Authority say they're also torn. In the midst of a pandemic, resources are quite simply stretched to the limit. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Regina.
Well, today the commissioner of the RCMP addressed the issue of systemic racism within the force. They were Brenda Lucky's first public comments since a watchdog report said Debbie Baptiste, the mother of Colton Boushie, was mistreated on the basis of race. Lucky told a House committee that it was her job to transform the force.
It's about the leadership, and it's about providing sort of from start to finish. So making sure that when we go to our recruitment, that we are bringing in the right people.
Lucky says they will also be working with Indigenous groups to develop new training courses. In Alberta, a police force is under threat of being disbanded. Fallout from a CBC News investigation that revealed police officers investigating a cabinet minister without cause. And now the province's justice minister has given an ultimatum to the force. Carolyn Dunn has the details.
Rocked by scandal, the Lethbridge Police Service is now facing an existential crisis.
I was clear in my letter. I will take action. And that action would include, if I need to intervene to set aside the entire police service, I would.
Alberta's Justice Minister sent letters to the chair of the Lethbridge Police Commission, the city's mayor, and to the LPS chief of police, demanding a comprehensive plan for sweeping reforms by April 16th, warning he's prepared to use the extraordinary authorities available to me, including the unprecedented step of dissolving the police force.
I want to solve the culture of impunity that is taking place there.
Earlier this month, the CBC News investigation revealed that in 2018, 5 Lethbridge police officers and 1 civilian employee searched the police database for former Environment Minister Shannon Phillips 8 times without any investigative purpose noted. Phillips had previously been surreptitiously photographed by 2 other officers. one of whom posted the pictures on social media.
We need to make darn sure that this kind of thing never happens again. We cannot, under any circumstances, be in a position where law enforcement are able to bully or intimidate democratically elected representatives.
If the force is indeed dissolved, the service could be replaced by nearby municipal forces or even the RCMP. Lethbridge Police Service says it has been working on a strategy aimed at correcting past behaviors and restoring public trust for several months. It expects to submit that plan before the Justice Minister's deadline. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
Tonight, we continue special coverage from Syria as the country marks a solemn anniversary, 10 years since the beginning of the Syrian civil war. Well, tonight, we take you to Raqqa, once the center of ISIS power in that country and the scene of some of the war's greatest horrors. Images of public killings remain seared in the world's imagination. And now, with ISIS pushed out, our Margaret Evans led a team of CBC journalists there to speak with the people in a city struggling to rebuild.
How do you reclaim a city as your own? One so abused and disfigured that you no longer recognize it. How do you find light in that darkness? In Raqqa, they're still trying. This is Paradise Square, anything but during 3 years of ISIS rule, the site of public executions and heads on spikes. Today, it's been given a facelift, even an I Love Raqqa sign. But this is a place still chasing ghosts. Ahmed Al-Habur Mohammed sold books here from the age of 16 until ISIS arrived and burned them. He's kept the sign full of bullet holes. Cigarettes weren't allowed, he says. Women couldn't walk by themselves. We couldn't chat like this. It was hard. Around the corner at the museum, looted in the early days of the war, the building then taken over by ISIS, Mehmed Al-Ezzo says they didn't just try to destroy people's spirit, they did it. When you see people hanged, tortured, beheaded in the square, that's what it did.
It's not just 3 years under ISIS rule that has traumatized the people of Raqqa. They also endured an intense bombing campaign by the US-led coalition trying to root ISIS out.
There are still only small signs of rebuilding in a universe of destruction, and war still stalks Syria, the currency in freefall. Vendors say they're not selling because people can't buy. What we care about at the end of the day is that we have something to eat, says this shepherd. Poor people can't even afford meat. It leaves little time for emotional healing, but there are signs of hope popping up here and there. Back at the bookshop, Al-Habur Mohammed says when ISIS burned his books, he told himself all of Syria is being destroyed. I won't cry over some books. Today he's got Dostoevsky on his shelves again, books from around the world. He is reclaiming his city by hanging on to who he is.
So Margaret has now crossed the border back into Iraq tonight and joins us. So Margaret, Raqqa definitely looks different than it did 3 years ago when we were there. You know conflict, you know Syria, and to a degree you knew what to expect going into it. And I'm curious, what's taken you off guard this time?
Adrienne, I guess the same thing that usually takes me off guard in Syria, especially when you're dealing with cities that have been so utterly destroyed, and that's the ability of the normal and the abnormal to coexist so quickly. For example, outside the bookseller's shop, you know, you'd see older gentlemen gathering to gossip, read the newspaper, could be anywhere, walk around the corner, and all of a sudden you're staring at a vast concrete wasteland, you know, and people still manage somehow to live between the cracks.
Margaret, what do you think we should be all watching out for next?
Well, there's been a worrying uptick in pro-regime airstrikes in Idlib recently, where so many civilians are taking shelter. But beyond that, I'd be looking to the economic crisis. You know, that's what so many people in Raqqa really wanted to talk to us about. Before the war, the value of the Syrian pound was about 47 to the US dollar. It's now more than 4,000. And while many people would tell you that Bashar al-Assad has more or less clinched the war, or almost clinched the war in his favor, it's also stalled to a certain effect. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the impact of the economic crisis might be on that. Adrienne.
Okay, thank you, Margaret, to you and Steph and JF for all that reporting. Thank you. A terrifying incident on a Toronto highway has left one woman really shaken. A nurse on her way to work gets rammed by a truck and dragged for meters.
And I just was crying, hoping that he would stop.
The Good Samaritans who came to the rescue. Plus,
David Suzuki on his 85th birthday reflects on the fight for clean air and his reaction to anti-Asian hate.
When I heard about the Atlanta killings, my response is, what do you expect?
but first, a questionable call caught on a hot mic.
But I wanted to get a penalty against him.
That landed a referee in hot water, but some say this is all a part of hockey.
Makeup calls are part of the unwritten rules.
We're back in 2.
Welcome back. A hot mic moment has landed an NHL ref in hot water. He's banned from working future games after a comment he made during a game last night was accidentally broadcast. But as Rafi Boudjikanian explains, it also seemed to expose, in a pretty explicit way, an unwritten rule of the game.
Oh man, that's such a dive.
That is the moment that netted Nashville Predators forward Victor Arvidsson a tripping penalty. But this is the moment that got referee Tim Peel in trouble.
It wasn't much, but I wanted to get a penalty against Nashville early in the
4 seconds caught on a hot microphone, suggesting the ref was hunting for a penalty to call, putting an end to a career that spanned more than 1,000 games over 2 decades. The NHL Senior Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations says Tim Peel no longer will be working games now or in the future, and that nothing is more important than ensuring the integrity of the game. The incident seemed to confirm the existence of an unofficial, unspoken practice that referees don't always call them as they see them.
Makeup calls are It's part of the unwritten rules of the NHL, of hockey. It's not a surprise that there are such a things as makeup calls. It's sort of been accepted. Now, that doesn't mean it's right.
He should be fired. It's bad luck whenever anybody gets caught on a microphone.
I think it's kind of a steep consequence. I feel like, he shouldn't lose his job because of that.
NHL players themselves seemed forgiving today.
Some calls you agree with, some calls you don't.
They're human as well, and just like we make mistakes out there, so do the refs sometimes, so you got to accept it.
And this retired referee says Peel is paying a steep price.
To me, the impact is the embarrassment to me, the embarrassment to my family, and a lack of opportunity to, in a very fitting manner, to say goodbye after over a 1,000-game career.
There are reports Peel planned to retire next month. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Edmonton.
A major trade route is still blocked after a massive ship runs aground. A traffic jam in one of the world's busiest canals halts millions of dollars of goods. Was this the weather's fault?
This piece reminds me a lot of home.
But first, Inuit art takes center stage at the Winnipeg Art Gallery. Is it the right place for it? Stay with us.
Welcome back. A one-of-a-kind new art center is about to open in this country. Tomorrow, the Winnipeg Art Gallery will unveil the largest collection of Inuit art in the world. A virtual opening will be held over 2 days, and on Saturday, the museum will open its doors to the public. The collection has already received rave reviews, and the space called bright and beautiful. But as Toby Utak explains, for some, it's all too far from home.
It's not finished, but getting there.
Ruben Kumangapik started carving when he was a child. He is from Pondenlit, Nunavut, now living in Ottawa, and thinks the gallery in southern Canada is a positive step. He knows that the Winnipeg Art Gallery has a vault of Inuit art collection and thinks it's a great thing that the gallery is able to show the art again.
Well, I think it's a really great thing that building was built in Winnipeg, because it's going to showcase our talent and our traditions, and to educate the South people about who we are, which is, I think, is a great idea.
Kumangapik is aware that some in the community are against the gallery opening in the south rather than in Inuit Nunangat. Although he would love to see a museum like it up north, he is proud that the art is being showcased to the rest of the world.
I think it will be really great, especially for the young people and whoever is in Nunavut, to get inspired by all the artwork that they're going to showcase down here. I think that it'd be really great if they built something like that in Nunavut also.
The Nunatta Sunakutangit Takuyagakakvik curator, another gallery in Iqaluit, Nunavut, says the Kaumayuk should be in Inuit Nunangat. She feels that way the integrity of the art and the artists would be better safeguarded.
I think that having these objects outside of Nunavut for this long is heartbreaking, and I don't know how it would be acceptable to create a new place in this time that we're in, somewhere else, that disregards Inuit so much.
Jessica Gutter says having the art displayed in Winnipeg is a barrier for all the Inuit in Nunavut. They would have to get on a plane to see their own work.
There's not a lack of great culture to look at, great artworks, great talent, great things to appreciate. That's not what the lack is. The lack is facilities and support for people to work in the field in their own home.
More than half of the 14,000 pieces in Winnipeg are on long-term loan from the government of Nunavut.
It is my pleasure to welcome you virtually to Kaumayuk.
Stephen Boris is the WAG Kaumayuk director. He says the gallery's goal is to grow the profile of Inuit art, not just across Canada, but around the world.
This is a space where Inuit vision and voices illuminate and inspire, and in just 2 short weeks, we will be opening to the world.
Boris says there's a plan that with each exhibition they do, depending on size and scale, they'll be able to produce that show that could travel to Inuit communities across Inuit Nunangat. For artists like Kumangapik, having his art seen and appreciated is the most important thing, wherever that may be. Toby Utak, CBC News, Iqaluit.
We're going to spend some time showcasing some of the artists featured at the new gallery. Tonight, we want to introduce you to Cousine Van Hoevelen.
My name is Cousine Van Hoevelen. I'm an Inuit artist in my studio here in Bowmanville, Ontario, and I'm originally from Iqaluit, Nunavut. You know, art has always been a way to connect and contribute to Inuit culture. Spending a lot of time at home means I'm more concerned with comfort and the things I surround myself with. Part of that has influenced my desire to make a rug. It's a sculptural work. It's about 8.5 by 12.5 feet, and it is a large sealskin. This piece reminds me a lot of home. It's a sealskin. It does remind me of stories that I've heard of very large sea creatures. So this is a sealskin, but it's at the scale of a whale. From what I've seen, Kaumayuk is going to be an incredible building, and it's going to house so much incredible artwork. And so I think I'm just really happy that this piece is going to be included in the exhibition and that it'll be surrounded by so much other great art.
And you can watch the virtual opening of the new Inuit Art Centre online. You can watch tomorrow at cbc.ca/Manitoba at 7:30 p.m. Eastern and on Canada Tonight on CBC News Network at 8 Eastern.
Well, an epic battle was recently captured by a PEI photographer.
I honestly thought the goose had already expired.
And that showdown between an eagle and a goose ended with a surprising twist. But first,
do not forget we are animals.
the man who has been fighting for the environment his whole life says climate change is a bigger threat than the pandemic. Stay with us. Well, this face is one of the most recognizable in the country. And today he's marking a big birthday. Now for him, it's more than just a day to celebrate, but also a time to reflect on the toll of the pandemic, the urgency of climate change, and this period of racial reckoning. And of course, David Suzuki has a lot to say about all of it.
Hello, I'm David Suzuki. Welcome to The Nature of Things.
Where do you start with David Suzuki? He first came to the public's attention as an innovative, down-to-earth science professor.
You know, I study fruit flies, and I suddenly realized that basically we're all fruit flies.
A geneticist with a way of connecting with his students and his audience.
The cells in the region of the cut, they have the blueprint that should allow that finger to grow back a new finger.
That ability to distill ideas for the masses made him one of Canada's best-known and popular broadcasters for more than 50 years.
Well, the changes are still going on right now.
If humans are to colonize space, they'll have to invent something that mimics gravity.
Suzuki is not universally loved, though.
Instead of conserving energy, our society uses it up and then has to find more of it.
His ringing of alarm bells about pollution and his unwavering belief in climate science has made him a nuisance to certain industries and some politicians.
This is the more action than any government in history has ever taken.
It's not enough, John.
David Suzuki, still host of The Nature of Things, turns 85 years old today. I took the opportunity to check in with him from his home in Vancouver. I should start by saying happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you. At my age, I don't, birthdays mean nothing. It's every day is a happy day. I'm still here.
Well, tell me, typically, what does an 85-year-old like to talk about on their big day?
Well, I guess I spend all my time saying, what are the grandkids doing now? And right now we're locked down in Vancouver and I'm just missing my grandchildren. I wish they were here for my birthday.
Yeah, well, and the pandemic must put quite an interesting twist on how you reflect, right? On your life and the life that you've lived.
I'm thinking, the deaths, of course, so many of the deaths, while the great majority of deaths from COVID were older people. And you have to think there's something wrong with that. Two of my dear friends are now dying. And I've talked to both of them and said, look, you've got to do your most important function. Think back on your life. What have you learned from your lifetime having been led? And you've got to pass it on to our kids. That's got to be the most important job for elders. And I regret that they're hived away in these long-term care centers where they had to die.
This pandemic has really laid bare who is vulnerable in society. It has laid bare inequalities. I do think, though, in a way that it has also shown us something about what humanity is capable of.
For years now, environmentalists like me have been going to Ottawa begging for, a few $1 million for public transit and for retrofitting houses and solar panels and all that. And the government's always said, well, we don't have the money. We don't have the money. COVID hits. And suddenly, we're not talking millions, we're talking billions of dollars suddenly appear out of nowhere. So as we come out of the crisis, no government can say, oh, we don't have the money, because climate change and species extinction represent a far greater threat to human survival than the coronavirus 19. Far greater threat.
Scientists as a whole have been very apolitical.
But they're the ones who have the power to make these.
They're the ones who are generating the knowledge, but the power to use it ultimately comes into the hands of the technologists, engineers, and of course political power, and I think business.
Do you remember early on when the pandemic was taking form and the human toll, what was terrible, even back then at that early stage in the game, except we were noticing something bizarre was happening in the environment around us, right? We were noticing that the air was getting cleaner, that the water was getting clearer.
Yeah, and that should have been a warning. This is an opportunity, and it's going to continue to happen to us because we're pushing organisms into tighter and tighter areas by the degradation of forests and destruction of the land. And so these exotic viruses are going to keep jumping out at us. And so the COVID crisis is, I think, a warm-up to what is coming, but maybe an opportunity to say we can't go back to the way it was before COVID. That was not normal.
David, very few scientists speak out the way you do. Why do you?
I think it really is a result of a unique set of circumstances almost, in that, as you know, during the war I spent time in the, I call them concentration camps in the interior of British Columbia, even though I was a third-generation Canadian. And the result of that was, I guess, a psychological scarring. In a sense, I became very sensitive to being a member of a racial minority.
In this pandemic, we have one of the ugly sides to it, I believe, is we have seen this kind of latent racism against Asian Canadians, Asian Americans, kind of rise to the surface. And we've seen it in a pretty concrete way. We've seen an increase in explicit attacks on us.
Look, when I heard about the Atlanta killings, my response is, what do you expect? We live in a society in which racism is systemic. It's built into our culture. But do you think that there are people who are only pissed off at Asians? Those are the same people that will slaughter Black people or worshipers in a synagogue or go after Muslims. I mean, they're all the same. It's racism. And when you look at Canada's history, Canada, of course, has it built right into the first contact and the treaties that were made with the Indigenous people.
Will we continue to cling stubbornly to our present attitudes? Or will history look back and see this as a period of change, of questioning, of new insights?
Well, let me ask you then, just as we close this off, what is the bottom line for you? What is the nugget, the pearl of wisdom that an 85-year-old, not to belabor the point, but that an 85-year-old might impart on someone like me?
Oh, do not forget we are animals. You're an animal. And that's not an insult. It's a biological statement. And as an animal, what do you, Andrew, what does David Suzuki, what do my grandchildren need most importantly? Well, guess what? If you don't have air for 3 minutes, you're dead. If you have to breathe polluted air, you're sick. So surely clean air is this gift from nature that we have a responsibility to protect for all future generations and for the rest of the web of life.
From one animal to another, David Suzuki, happy birthday, and thank you so much for the time that you've spent with us. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
One of the most contented, frustrated people I've spoken to in a long time. A final note here for you. The Nature of Things is celebrating its 60th season on CBC. It is TV's longest running science program, and you can stream it on CBC Gem.
And when we come back, a woman survives a terrifying road accident that certainly shocked onlookers.
I literally thought I was going to die.
Well, no kidding. Dragged along the highway, why the truck did not stop.
And tugboats and diggers are struggling to unblock a major trade route after a container ship runs aground. Millions are at stake. Next.
Well, that's not good. That is a dump truck pushing a Mini Cooper along a stretch of highway. Inside that car, a terrified nurse on her way to work.
My life is flashing before my eyes, and I literally thought I was going to die.
Courtney Earhart was driving up an on-ramp to get onto Toronto's Gardiner Expressway when it all happened.
The truck hit me from behind and then kind of pushed me sideways. And then he just kept going, which felt like forever. Apparently it was a little over 500 meters. I just was crying, hoping that he would stop. I was hoping someone would see me.
Someone did see her and helped get the truck to stop by pulling up ahead with the hazard lights on. Incredibly, Earhart only suffered minor injuries.
Ironically, you can kind of say, I feel like I've been hit by a truck because I kind of have been hit by a truck.
The driver has been charged with several driving and commercial vehicle offenses.
Now, another sight to see, also sideways, a cargo vessel that's longer than the Eiffel Tower is tall, stuck in the Suez Canal. As Jacqueline Hansen tells us, it's blocking all traffic on one of the busiest shipping routes in the world.
One ship at the center of a major marine traffic jam. Sudden, strong winds, even a dust storm likely pushed Evergreen's ship, the Ever Given, off its path. So much so that the ship became wedged sideways across the Suez Canal, wall to wall. Tugboats and cranes are trying to free it, but the ship is massive and heavy. It holds 20,000 shipping containers.
If they cannot free her from the banks, then they've got to find a way to offload some of those containers to reduce the weight of the ship so that she can actually then be free to float.
The Ever Given is blocking one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. 50 ships a day normally use this passage. Each of these dots is one waiting to get through.
The Suez Canal accounts for about 10% of global oil shipments each year.
Oil prices climbed today more than 5%, but the impact may not last if the ship is dislodged quickly.
All of this hinges on this being resolved in kind of a day or two. Once you get into a couple days long or a week, it becomes a very, very different ballgame.
There is an alternative route. Instead of cutting through Egypt, ships can also go around the southern tip of Africa. However, that takes about a third more time and more fuel.
And that's part of the reason why people use the Suez Canal, because it's quicker and cheaper in cost terms.
Taking the long way could have cascading effects for buyers expecting shipments quickly and for the price of delivery. Consequences of the world's reliance on a single choke point. But building a backup canal would be costly, and most of the time, ships sail through smoothly.
In less 1 in a million, chance a ship gets stuck sideways, everything is working pretty well.
Still, for the shipping industry, that 1 in a million is just the latest unexpected setback in a year, unlike any other. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
An epic on-ice battle.
The eagle tried to take off with the goose, and that's when I noticed the goose was still alive.
Interesting. A classic underdog tale with a twist next. A PEI photographer was on a walk in the woods, as you do, when he saw this, a showdown on the ice between an eagle and a Canada goose. So, of course, the photographer stayed for the epic battle to see who pulled out the win and caught the whole thing on camera. And tonight, it is our moment.
So I was out for a hike around the wooded area. Thought it was a dark rock or possibly some seaweed. I took my camera out and took a test shot. I realized it was in fact a goose. I joined probably in the later stages of the battle, and what I saw, I honestly thought the goose had already expired. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was a bit of movement, and the eagle tried to take off with the goose, and that's when I noticed the goose was still alive. The eagle certainly tried multiple times to leave with the goose in its talons, take flight and possibly drop him from height, but never got more than a foot off the ice. The real story, I think, is the underdog story. The eagle has all of the leverage, all of the power, all of the weapons essentially, and the goose survived, but through great determination, courage, and he was able to survive.
And the only geopolitical observation I'm going to make there is that at the end of the day, the poor Canada goose made it work with the eagle.
That's the lesson you drew?
Yeah, that's all I got.
I just thought it was cool to see two birds fighting.
Yeah, there's that.
That's the National for this March 24th. Have a great night.
Good night.